Good morning, everyone. Today we'll discuss the chapter 1 Challenges of Nation Building. This is from book 2. What's the title of the book 2? Politics in India since Independence. So we are going to start chapter 1 Challenges of Nation Building. You could see the headlines of the Hindustan Times dated August 15, 1947. This is, I'll show you. This is on August 1947. India independent, British rule ends. Constituent Assembly takes over. Mountbatten's appointment as Governor General endorsed. Colorful ceremony marks the birth of the nation. Governors sworn in as Free India is born. So, these were the headlines of the newspapers on the morning of August 15, 1947. Our first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru addressed the Constituent Assembly on the midnight of 14th-15th August 1947. His first speech delivered is known popularly as the Tryst with Destiny. As you could see, he is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. He is addressing the Constituent Assembly on the midnight of 14th-15th August. And though we got the independence, but we had the challenges of nation building, and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru promised the country to meet these challenges. So he just said we had the confirmed goals. These were: number one, to establish democratic government. He promised the country. Most important goal of independent India would be to establish democratic government. Second goal would be economic growth for all. What do we mean by economic growth for all? It means that the government will be run for the good of all, particularly the poor and the socially disadvantaged group. So at the time of now, this is the time of independence, and this is the time to realize the promise of freedom, which were declared by a first prime minister on the midnight of 14th-15th August 1947. We got the freedom, but under a very difficult situation. So we had some certain challenges also. Though we had assigned the goals as our prime minister promised to the countryman, but still we had some challenges. What were these challenges? The first and immediate challenge was to shape nation. This was not easy to shape the nation because we attained the freedom under very difficult situations. Our country was divided. Some of the princely states were left at their option, either to join India or to merge with Pakistan or to remain independent. So this was quite difficult. And our country, though it was united, yet accommodative of the diversity existing in the society and eradication of poverty and unemployment. Okay, so India has always been the country of different languages, the different cultures, the different religions, different communities. So India was a land of continental size and diversity. Second challenge was to establish democracy. As we have already discussed, it was not easy to establish democracy in such a country which was not so educated, where most of the population was illiterate, and the people had been provided the fundamental rights, the right to vote. So this was necessary, this was mandatory to educate them first. Third challenge was to ensure the development and the well-being of the entire society and not only of the some sections, as we have discussed, that the economic growth for all. So these were the challenges for the new nation. Now, We'll see some history behind the partition of the country. We got the country when we got a country, it was divided into the two nations, and this demand was created at the Muslim League session in Lahore in 1940. Muslim League fair was scared. As the majority of India is Hindu, the Muslims believed that they would not receive equal treatment from the government, so they advocated for the two nation theory. And all of you could see here, this is also the clip of a new newspaper. I couldn't collect it from which newspaper this is, but this is the end of the Indian Empire, birth of the two dominions, India and Pakistan celebrate. As we could see, this is the Pakistan and this is India. We'll see better in this in the next map. This is, so we could see it here. This is the map of India before 1947, and this is the map after 1947, after partition of the country. This was known as the West Pakistan. This was in the west of India, and this was basically at that time known as the East Pakistan, because this this was the problem in the process of partition, because it was declared by the government, the areas which which were Muslims dominated, they would be called the Pakistan automatically, and the areas which were the Hindu dominated, those would be called the Hindustan in themselves. But if we speak in reference of the Muslim majority, this was some maximum majority of the Muslims was in the west, in this part, as we could see this, and in the eastern part, this part which was later created under the name of Bangladesh. Okay, so we have taken this third map also after, though this is after 1971. We'll discuss it later in the other chapters. In the next chapters, we'll go through all these. This is for your reference only I had taken. Next we come process of partition. Process of partition was very painful. It was not quite easy. So what were the problems which we faced in the process of partition? Number one, there was no single belt of Muslim majority areas in British India. There were the two areas of concentration, as we have discussed here. I had shown you in the map. We go back there again. We had this map was there. So again we come back on the map. We have seen that there were the two areas of the concentrations of Muslim areas, as we have already discussed. This is in west and this is in the east. So there was no way these two parts could be joined. So it was decided that the new country, Pakistan, will comprise two territories, West and East Pakistan, separated by a long expanse of Indian territory, because these were the two areas which had the majority of the Muslim population. And both these two areas, this was known as the East Pakistan, and this was known as the West Pakistan, and these were separated by the long expanse of India. This Indian expanses separating these two. Okay? So this was the first problem in the partition, and partition was very painful. Second problem was not all Muslim majority areas wanted to be in Pakistan. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, he did not want to go. He did not want to merge with that of Pakistan. He is popularly known as as Frontier Gandhi, and he was the undisputed leader of the Northwest Frontier provinces. But despite his opposition, NWFP was merged with Pakistan. Northwest Frontier provinces were merged with Pakistan. But frontier Gandhi staunchly opposed with. The third problem was the third problem two Muslim majority provinces of British India, Punjab and Bengal, had very large areas where non-Muslims were in majority. In these areas, what happened? In the areas where where the Muslims were in majority, they they were called automatically the Muslim majority areas, and the Hindus became minority there. In the same way, the areas which were dominated by the Hindu population, automatically they were known as the Hindu dominated areas. And here we could see the partition most important. So what happened in the Muslim dominated areas, Hindus became minority, and in the Hindu dominated areas, Muslims became the minority. Lakhs of Hindus and Sikhs in the areas that were now in Pakistan, and an equally large number of Muslims on the Indian side of Punjab in Bengal found themselves trapped. They were to discover that they were undesirable aliens in their own home, in the land where they and their ancestors had lived for centuries. As soon as it became clear that the country was going to be partitioned, the minorities on both sides became easy targets of attack. No one had quite anticipated the scale of this problem. No one had any plans for handling this. Initially, the people and the political leaders kept hoping that this violence was temporary and would be controlled soon. But very soon the violence went out of control. The minorities on both sides of the border were left with no option except to leave their homes, often at a few hours' notices. Cities like Lahore, Amritsar, and Kolkata became divided into the communal zones. Muslims would avoid going into an area where mainly Hindus or Sikhs lived. Similarly, the Hindus and Sikhs stayed away from the areas of Muslim predominance. So we could see the partition of British India split the former British province of Punjab between between the dominion of India and the dominion of Pakistan, as you could see in this map. Some of the dominion of Punjab, which was the West Punjab, it went into the dominion of this one. This was the West Punjab, and it automatically went into the dominion of Pakistan when Pakistan was created. And this is the East Punjab, which came under the dominion of India. In the same way, we could see the partition of Bengal in 1947. It was divided into the two separate entities of West Bengal, awarded to the dominion of India, and East Bengal, awarded to the dominion of Pakistan. We could see this is the East Pakistan in the dark green color, all of you could see. So this was mainly known as East Pakistan, sorry, East Bengal, and it came under the dominion of Pakistan. Yeah. And the areas in color blue, okay, these areas, this is known as the West Bengal, and it came under the dominion of India. In such a way, our West Bengal was also divided. East Bengal was came under the dominion of Pakistan, and the West Bengal came under the dominion of India. So you could see from here how these British provinces were also divided between these two dominions. Next we come on the consequences of partition. Consequences of partition, well, we have already discussed, but again we'll just brief it. The year 1947 was the year One of the largest, most elaborate, unplanned, and tragic transfer of population of human history is known. Minorities on both sides of the border left their home and secured temporary shelter in the refugee camps. For lakhs of these refugees, the country's freedom meant life in refugee camps for months and sometimes for years. Women were often abducted, raped, attacked, and killed. They were forcefully converted to other religions, and they killed themselves for the honor of the family. Honor killing also took place at this time. Political and administrative machinery failed on both sides. There was huge loss of lives and property. Communal violence was on its culmination. Amritsar and Kolkata were divided into the communal zones. We have already discussed all these points. Most important thing we would like to discuss here. Most of the writers, poets, and filmmakers in India and even in Pakistan have expressed the ruthlessness of the killings and the sufferings of displacement and violence in their novels, short stories, poems, and films. They have often used the phrase that the survivors themselves used to describe a partition as a division of the hearts. The partition was not merely a division of the properties, liabilities, and assets, or a political division of the country and the administrative apparatus. What they got divided were the financial assets, the things like tables, chairs, typewriters, paper clips, books, and also musical instruments of the police band. The employees of the government and the railways were also divided. Above all, it was a violent separation of communities who had lived together as neighbors. It is estimated that the partition forced about 80 lakh people to migrate across the new border. Between 5 to 10 lakh people were killed in partition related violence. Partition boast Partition posed another deeper issue also. The leaders of the Indian national struggle did not believe in the two nation theory, but still the partition on religious basis had taken place. Even after large-scale migration of Muslims to the newly created Pakistan, the Muslim population in India accounted for 12% of the total population in 1951. So, the partition had already created severe conflicts between these two communities. Because now the question had been there, how would the government of India treat its Muslim citizens and other religious minorities like Sikhs, Christians, Jains, Buddhists, Parsis, and Jews? The Muslim League was formed to protect the interest of the Muslims in colonial India. It was in the forefront of the demand for a separate Muslim nation. Similarly, some organizations were trying to organize the Hindus in order to turn India into a Hindu nation. But most leaders of the national movement believed that India must treat persons of all religions equally, and that India should not be a country that gives superior status to adherents of one faith and inferior to those who practice another religion. All citizens would be equal irrespective of their religious affiliation. They cherished the ideal of a secular nation. This ideal was enshrined in the Indian constitution also. Now we come on the next topic. This is the integration of the princely states. When we speak in reference of the integration of the princely states,